Good afternoon, friends. Thank you very much for coming this afternoon. Today, I am deputizing for the official spokesperson, Mr. Syed Akbaruddin. I have two announcements to make. I have with me Additional Secretary, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Iran, Mr. Yash Sinha. He will speak to you on one of the topics of the announcement that I have to make. The announcement is about the President of Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, His Excellency Hamid Karzai, who will be on a state visit to India from November 9th to 13th, 2012. He will be in Mumbai and Delhi during the course of his visit. The President of Afghanistan will be accompanied by a high-level ministerial and official delegation from Afghanistan. While in Delhi, President Karzai will be accorded a ceremonial welcome on November 12th, 2012. The President of India will host a state banquet in his honor. Delegation-level talks will be held between the Prime Minister and President Karzai. President Karzai will also deliver the Maulana Abul Kalam Azad Memorial Lecture organized by the Indian Council of Cultural Relations in New Delhi on November 12, 2012. The second announcement is with regard to the visit of Daw Aung San Suu Kyi, chairperson of the National League of Democracy of Myanmar. She would be visiting India from November 13 to 18, 2012. She is scheduled to deliver the Nehru Memorial Lecture on the occasion of the birth anniversary of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru on November 14, 2012. It would be recalled Daw Aung San Suu Kyi had accepted the invitation from Srimati Sonia Gandhi in her capacity as chairperson of Nehru Memorial Fund to deliver the Nehru Memorial Lecture when she met the Prime Minister during his visit to Myanmar in May 2012. We shall soon be providing you with the details of her visit, including her engagements during the visit. Additional Secretary Mr. Sinha would further brief you on the visit of President Hamid Karzai and has kindly agreed to take few questions. Friends, the questions for today's briefing would be limited only to the visit of President Karzai. May I now request Additional Secretary Mr. Sinha to make his opening remarks.
Thank you, Vishwajit. Good afternoon to all of you. As my colleague has said, informed you that President Hamid Karzai will be making a state visit to India from 9th to the 13th of this month. He's arriving later today in Mumbai. He has a full engagement during his visit here, and we've outlined elements of the program. It is a state visit with a ceremonial welcome planned on the 12th at Rashtrapati Bhavan. The President will also be hosting a banquet in his honor later that evening, and during the day he has engagements, meetings with the Prime Minister, delegation-level talks, and of course he will be delivering the Maulana Azad Memorial Lecture later in the evening. We expect that during the visit, apart from reviewing the entire gamut of bilateral relations, there would be discussions on regional and international issues. We also expect that a few MOUs stroke agreements would be signed during the course of the visit. Thank you.
For questions, please.
Yes, I'm given to understand by the Afghan ambassador that Mr. Karzai is going to Bombay to try and raise funds for the projects which our consortiums have been able to bag and so on. But I'm just curious, do we have a plan B in the unlikely event of the Taliban and ISI ganging up after the Americans and NATO forces leave Afghanistan to protect our assets in Afghanistan? Thank you.
The President of Afghanistan will be in Mumbai, and as I said, would be interacting with business leaders in the financial capital. The idea obviously is to encourage Indian business to look at Afghanistan as a destination for investments, for greater trade, for greater economic cooperation. As you're aware that India hosted the Delhi Investment Summit on Afghanistan, the first such summit that India has hosted for any other country in India, and that was in the end of June this year. There has been considerable follow-up since then, and obviously the intention is to try and attract Indian industry, Indian business to looking at Afghanistan as a destination for investments and trade. On your second question, I think I would rather not answer that in detail now, because obviously the situation is evolving and we will have to wait and see how things develop in Afghanistan and the region. All I can say is that the government monitors these developments very closely and will take all necessary measures to safeguard our interests.
During the talks, is this implementation of the Charbar agreement also to come up, the Afghanistan angle?
As I said, all issues, regional, international and bilateral issues will come up for discussion. Specifically, of course, you're aware that the Strategic Partnership Agreement was signed on the 4th of October last year, and I think the leaders, both the leaders will use this opportunity to review and consolidate our strategic partnership.
As you just said, there has been a considerable follow-up to the Delhi summit on investment in Afghanistan. So, could you give something, any concrete proposals being cleared for investment by Indian companies in Afghanistan? Anything concrete?
When I referred to follow-up, I referred to the follow-up in terms of attracting investments into Afghanistan. As you're aware, there is a regional process called the Istanbul process, of which India is a member. And India, in fact, is the lead country for 2 of the 7 regional confidence-building measures, namely the Regional Chambers of Commerce, CBM, and the Commercial Opportunities, CBM. So it's part of our policy of trying to attract investments into Afghanistan, and also to change the narrative from a narrative of anxiety to a narrative of hope.
Sir, the strategic partnership agreement, we had offered to train Afghan army personnel. Can you give us a sense of how many personnel have been trained? How many do we plan to train in the coming years? As also a sense of the aid. Yesterday, the cabinet also approved, I think, something like 540 crores, third phase of SDP or whatever. Just a sense of, in the last decade, how much has been. We have committed $2.1 billion. One knows that, but how much has been invested and how much still remains to be? Just a sense of.
As far as your first question goes, India is involved in capacity building in various fields, including the security sector. You're aware of the provisions of the Strategic Partnership Agreement. All I can say at this stage is that we are doing training of the Afghan National Security Forces based specifically on requests received from the government of Afghanistan. I think the numbers are modest. I wouldn't want to go into details. As far as the investments and into Afghanistan is concerned, we are looking at investments in various sectors, particularly the mineral sector. And you're aware that the consortium of Indian companies led by SAIL has won the bid for the Hajigak iron ore mines, and discussions are underway to finalize the contract in this regard. So we are obviously looking at a greater enhanced economic cooperation with Afghanistan to expand our already very vibrant relationship from a government-to-government assistance program or a relationship to cover the entire gamut of activities in the economic commercial field, in the people-to-people contacts, which are extremely strong, and other areas like culture, etc.
Since the strategic agreement was signed, how many times have the working groups met, or have they met at all?
As you're aware, the implementing mechanism for the strategic partnership agreement is the Partnership Council, which is co-chaired by the foreign ministers of both the countries. The first session of the Partnership Council was held on the 1st of May this year in New Delhi. This was preceded by a joint working group on political and security consultations, which is headed on our side by the Foreign Secretary and by the Afghan side by the Deputy Foreign Minister. There are 3 other joint working groups on trade and economic cooperation, on development assistance and education capacity building and culture, which we hope will meet shortly.
So you are of course aware of the CAREC meeting that approved $23 billion of trade routes, what is known as the Fuhan Agreement. It seems that most of the routes seem to be coming to Gwadar and exit is planned from Gwadar. How are we trying to speed up our connectivity plans with Afghanistan and Central Asia?
I will limit myself to Afghanistan because that's what I handle. Refer your question to my colleague who does handle Central Asia. But as far as connectivity and transit to Afghanistan and Central Asia are concerned, obviously it is a priority for us, and not only for us but for Afghanistan also. And we hope that existing treaties like the APTTA, the Afghanistan-Pakistan Trade and Transit Agreement, would at some point be extended to cover transit of goods from India to Afghanistan.
So very recently, the UN Security Council under the Indian presidency announced sanctions against the Haqqani network. Later, India in its statement held the Haqqani network responsible for violent attacks on Indian interests. Which particular attacks is India holding the Haqqani network directly responsible for, sir?
I think the statement basically welcomed the listing of the Haqqani network under the UNSC resolutions. As far as attacks on Indian interests are concerned, there has been specific attacks that have been believed to be carried out by the Haqqani network. I don't want to go into details at this stage, except to say that there are credible reports of not only attacks that have taken place, but of attacks that could take place in the future.
Is there evidence of an ISI involvement in such attacks?
I wouldn't like to comment on that.
Afghanistan, India, and the US held trilateral dialogue in September. Could you please shed some light on what was discussed in this dialogue?
As you're aware, India and the US during their strategic dialogue in June in Washington had decided to convene a trilateral dialogue between India, Afghanistan, and the US. That dialogue took place in September on the margins of the UNGA in New York, and it gave an opportunity to all 3 countries to discuss a variety of issues regarding Afghanistan and the region, and to see where the 3 countries could cooperate in trying to bring peace, stability, and progress in Afghanistan.
Yes, with Pakistan all set to give the MFN status to India by the end of this year, is there any possibility of a trilateral dialogue between India, Pakistan, and Afghanistan to explore the possibility of opening up Wagah to send our goods to Afghanistan and vice versa? Thank you.
I wouldn't like to comment on that right now because I think it's a bit premature, but certainly greater regional cooperation and better connectivity would be good for all the countries in the region.
With that, we come to the conclusion. Thanks a lot. Thank you.